So the syllabus comprises of roughly around almost 20 different subjects or topics. Module 5 covers the entire part of OD, change management and culture building. What are the current threats in OD? What is the role of training? How do you design and implement OD interventions? What is the role of training in driving organization change? Why HR and OD strategy fails? Most often it does. Developing training strategy. What are the steps to be develop it, and how do you implement a training calendar linked to the training strategy? The second part is the part on training HR scorecards. There is a time delay. 1 minute. There seems to be some lag. Okay, here you are. So, as I said, training in business HR scorecards are based on the balance scorecard. Some of you must be aware of it. You're studying your management books or in your courses. So, based on the business scorecard, how is HR scorecard evolved? And based on that, what analytics are linked to HR? And then how can you translate business strategy into action plans? An entire gamut of how strategy maps are made. How is HR strategy linked to business strategy? What are the options that we have on HR strategies? How can a training scorecard be developed? How can you measure the impact of training strategy? And what are the metrics and analytics to measure training effectiveness as per the HR scorecard? These are the two modules that I'm going to cover. Before that, as I said, I will introduce myself slightly for about few minutes. 2-3 minutes. Well, I am currently the Director HR at the Art of Living Ashram, Bangalore. In fact, I am right now speaking from my office here in Bangalore. And I superannuated 4 years back. And I worked in organizations like Reliance Industries, Larsen & Toubro, Voltas, a Tata organization, Reliance Infocom, part of the earlier RIL. By bulk of my career of 38 years in industry has been with Steel Authority Bhilai Steel Plant. So I'll be sharing with you a few of my experiences today, particularly in Bhilai Steel Plant and a couple in the last 15 years. I was heading either HR, learning development, talent management, and employee engagement in the last 13 years before I superannuated in the last 3 organizations I mentioned. Besides this, I am a coach. I'm also, I would say that I'm interested in teaching. I do a lot of art of living courses, and I'm consulting as well simultaneously. So this is basically about myself. So anytime I'm available for you to ask questions. I understand the limitations of time may not permit. You can use the WhatsApp group to post your questions. I can reply to you in the same, or if there are any specific questions addressed directly to me, I'm willing to answer as well. Okay, right. So I'm going to focus in these 5 topics today. We have only 1.5 hours left, or almost getting to be a 1 hour 20 minutes or less. So the rest, of course, I'll be taking in the next 2 weeks. That is probably on the 12th and the 19th of May. So what I'm going to cover is what is organization development, how is change management made, how do you build culture, what are the current trends in OD, what is the role of training, how do you implement OD interventions, how do you ensure that training is driving the organization change, and so on. So my discussion or sharing experiences will be related to this syllabus. Any time you do not understand, have a question, you please stop me, and then you can even use the chat box if required. But I would prefer if you can question to be directly over the mic. I hope you're able to see my screen, right? And you're able to hear my voice distinct and clear. Yes? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'll present a couple of case studies from Steel Authority, Village Steel Plant, because in my 38 years of career, I started from the shop floor, became an industrial engineer, then became a training and management development professional. And later, when I came over to Bombay, for about 6-7 years, I was heading HR. But almost 20 years of my career has been in these training and development that included talent management, employee engagement, so far and so forth. So I would like to I presume that you know OD. I presume you know more of the most of the gamut of HR functions and also training. In fact, I would like to congratulate you for deciding to take up this what you call paper. I mean, I would say pursue your career in by doing this postgraduate in training and development. I was also a student of this particular course. I passed out exactly 30 years back. So I remember with what passion, interest. I was not even a training professional, HR professional then. I was only a line manager. I wanted to get into training, and I thought this is one of the ways of getting to the training profession, and this was immensely helped me. Then I will try to help you explore OD. For those of you who are not conversant, it could be useful. The entire canvas and what is the impact of training and learning. What are the trends, of course, as I mentioned earlier, and then training in change management. So how OD is relevant and what OD practitioners can do. That will I'm going to touch. In whichever organization you are, I wish actually I knew more about you. I don't have the time to actually know more about, but try to at every point or every topic I'm going to cover, just try to reflect. Is this that we have learned? Is it that we have discussed possible to be related to my organization? If so, how can I go about doing it? I'm always available for any free guidance on this topic. Then appreciating the importance of T&D. What are the steps involved, in coming up with intervention? So I'll be discussing it fair length on the steps, right? I don't want get to just read a particular text and then present it, because if at all that's the way, you can as well read the book and then learn it. So I see as a wonderful opportunity for me. In fact, I take this as a great opportunity for me to share my experiences, which I didn't have in the earlier years. How do I recognize the trends and how training plays an important role, the linkages between OD and training, etc. Now, as I said earlier, I'm going to take directly a case study from a plate mill Village Steel Plant. Actually, this is where I started my career exactly 40 years back after my engineering. And typically, a plate mill is this is one of the largest mill in the country, which makes plates. I have to give you some background before I go into this case study. It manufactures plates for 8 mm to 40 mm thick and 3.6 mm wide. The length of those could be 10 to 20 meters. Large ones, of course. And these are made from slabs. And these slabs are casted from, in the continuous casting. And this mill is about 1 kilometer long. Nearly around 1,000 employees are there. And its capacity is 1 million tons. It has been, in fact, when this particular intervention was made, the plate mill was already about 15 years into existence, more than that. Just a brief about the process is the slabs are soaked and in reheating furnaces. Slabs are of 250 millimeter thick and 3 meters long. The slabs are actually descaled and then rolled first in the vertical stand, and the roughing stand, and finishing stand. So it's almost, those of you are not able to imagine this, it's almost like making the roti out of the dough, ball. Of course, it doesn't look a ball, it's a slab, wherein by continuous rolling the sides, the tops and all that, a plate is made. And the plate is punched, so to mark the heat number, what is the relating to a customer, whatever, based on that, leveled, then it cooled and leveled and inspected for metallurgical quality in the beds that are there. And then just to see if there are any surface over the thread to remove the dust and all that particles. Then once it's all done, it is all finished by shearing and then trimming to the specifications required by the customers. It's some of the plates, depending upon the requirement of strength, are normalized and then shipped for dispatch by road or rail. So this is typically a small brief about the process. The problem is it is very difficult to, what happens is when the plates are rolled, it is difficult to contain the diversions. See, a slab is rolled into a plate. Though most of the slabs are the same dimensions, but depending on the way it is brought from the slab plant, stored in your yards and then brought here, they could end up, though we have the same quality of slab, the lengths could vary. So because the slab is cut into specific lengths, the cutters, because of some defects, they remove out some parts. With the result, there is a possibility of having slabs which are, of different dimensions. But those plates which are rolled, where defects are coming due to some material defects or due to some surface defects or the length and dimension defects, right, are called non-conformance to order. A customer orders a plate, but it doesn't conform to the order. Those days, the plate mill was not so automatic like these days you have. It is semi-automatic. So it was entirely dependent on the skill of the operators in the pulpits and the various places to get that specific thickness and dimensions. So, but this non-conforming to order was causing an opportunity loss of almost 1 to actually 2 crores a year. I'm talking about year 1999, almost 25 years from now. Today's times could be more than 10 crores. And this were going as lower order quality plates, almost like just a little over the scrap value, They occupying a lot of space in the yards and things in the storage areas. See, the solution, the problem is short slab, extra length slab are cut and delivered as input. Other NCOs can be converted to material, but this is something which is now accepted as inevitable. How can I do it? If there's a material inherent defect, nothing can be done. But it's all because the inability to an operator or the people in the entire line not able to control in such a way as somehow we can make a quality out of it. So how do we solve this problem? So actually, I was, as I said earlier, joined the plate mill. I worked there for about 4 years before I moved on. So I had actually joined the training department. In one of my programs, one of my old ex-colleagues joined, and I overheard him making a call. He was the shift in charge, and he was told that there at least there are some diversions because of this extra length slab or short length slab. Then I entered into a conversation with him. I said, I think I can do it. In a sense, we will do it. How is it possible? You were in plate mill. You couldn't do. You cannot do it. How can you do it? It's nothing to do with you. I said, look, give me a chance. Then I was given opportunity to go into the department and then discuss with the management. And I said, give me an opportunity. I and my couple of colleagues will develop a program. I believe since it is outside anything to do with our process, is entirely dependent on the will and the skill of the operators and the people in the operations. So it's possible to meet your requirement. So I requested them to form a core group and then identified this very person who I met in my training session to be the coordinator, and then got a few members from the shop. Shop means the mill. And then the third step will be study the entire process, right? What are the underlying issues? What is affecting performance? Through a pre-PEP program. So we called it a PEP program. PEP is almost acronym for the Performance Enhancement Program or Performance Through People program. And the workshop was designed. This included some technical sessions also required. So, and also the appropriate exercise to simulate how a plate is made. So the pre-PEP, before actually the workshop, because it's very important when we develop an OD intervention to gear these people up, right? It's simply not getting people into a workshop straight away. There's a lot of warming up to do, preparation to be done. So some appreciation is required for some of those people who are going to be core members in this preparation of this workshop. And then the entire objective would be how PEP can be this particular pre-PEP program is, what are the obstacles that are there? It is related to training, something which have a training solution, some may not have a training solution. What are the shortfalls that have a solution? What is that objective that we should make? What is the target we should have, right? What are the areas? Which of those in the entire mill? There are 900 people. Should we all cover everyone? Or who are the key people who are who are interrelated or in the interdependence of functions here? Who are the key people who really matter most? Whether it is officers or whether it is workmen, whether it is supervisors, identification of these participants is very, very important. Then develop the appropriate framework and the content. This is the work pre-PEP program. And then the actual next step starts actually delivering the workshop by organizing a 2-day workshop. It's so very important that we should have the commitment visible as well by getting senior management of the part to come over and then inaugurate the workshops. That gives the message that the management is very, it's not just they just come to attend the program and then enjoy a couple of days, including good lunch and all. It is serious business to to ensure that the management has to be present at the start and at the end of the workshop as well. If action plans are monitored by that core group, because there's going to be a lot of delivery. I'll share with you how the entire content is developed and then designed. So action plans have to be monitored, right? Then the objective is made. So what is objective? So it can apply to any such workshop that you may be thinking of conducting in your organization as well. In a situation where we believe, though you may have, of course, in typical training, you'll understand either one does not have, cannot do or will not do, can do but will not do, cannot do, will do, cannot do, will not do. So these are the stages under where people have a challenge to learn and apply. So we will have to see here now what is the independence of function which has bearing in the total process. How can we see which can be by sharing knowledge and then trying to commit themselves to meet expectations will be able to do, and how can we create a learning environment that will develop that synergy within the team and that can engage them to work, develop a proactive work culture. This is the very objective of the PEP workshop. So the population key target group identified were the key workers and frontline super executives, as I said earlier. So this is the entire module that I developed, of course, with my colleague. So it starts with the business unit head or operations head speaking for some time, the importance. Then the core group people or the B and L&D give the business challenges and share them and the need to change. Then what are those difficult processes and practices are shared, and we get them to believe that it's only with teamwork that we'll be able to solve this problem, right? And then bring them. In fact, these are normally workshops which are held in English language for executives. Imagine this entire workshop is done in Hindi. And the people who facilitated are, in fact, thanks to which I also learned Hindi. So I'm South Indian. So this financial implications, whatever, second day is done. And then this is a very important part, which is expectation setting. Here we get those people from different places in the entire shop floor. Say they are the furnaces area, then the roughing stand operations area, then the finishing area. They, in the operators, even train operators, everyone are there. So they go on giving expectations on every other department, every other unit in the cloud. This is where they just bring about. They sit there together as a team and give expectations. Then we pull in the expectations and then give it to those respective teams. What are the expectations that come from different departments? And we do a simulated exercise or team game on the offline team game beyond the classroom. They develop that energy of enthusiasm to commit to something. When they come back to the classroom, they give away these pages, wherein if I belong to the operations, maybe the roughing and finishing stand, because of the expectations I have downline and also the upstream furnace, I will see, oh, these are the expectations coming from these people. So how can I do, what can I do to ensure that I satisfy my internal customer? So this carries on as a cascade. And at the end of the day, the action plans are made, wherein those representing a particular area write some commitments. We will do this. We will do it. Write in flip chart paper. And then at the end of the presentation, when senior members of the plant come over, they present as a commitment. And then these action plans are later, followed up. So this is typically the workshop or module that we have. And the process, it's so exciting, wherein awareness is created. People are appreciated. Oh, these are the issues. I was not aware. Okay, I will do it. Right? And then they decide on action throughout. And these are all continuously monitored. And then the results was there. Success has bred success. Over the course of some time, the key members were identified and trained all in these workshops. And the rest was history. So the entire process, so this is where the OD parts comes in, right? It is a structured, time-bound, team-based learning, right? It developed a sense of pride. And then people believed how important they are. Hitherto, they were just rolling, doing some operations, and then getting something, right? Now they realized by just a little stretching themselves a bit, they could save almost 1.5 to 2 crores a year, which was a big amount those days, right? That's just through, and this, of course, developed into saving in several intangible benefits as well. The morale, right, also helped in many ways. Then the return investment was made in the shortest time, right? There was, well, we didn't have the money there to put in new technology. So the return was very high. So that's, as I said, once we started this plate mill exercise, every other department started queuing up. Can you believe where? But that was the best period in my entire career, where people knocking at my door, Ravi, do a workshop for me. I also have a problem. So here with us, railway structural mill, trying to improve, because they had a big challenge. China, the government was, because at the time, 92, liberalization, privatization, the market was open for dumping steel from the CSS, the Russia, ex-Russia, Soviet Union countries, South Korea, then Japan and China, particularly, they were dumping so steel. Rail mill had to buck up. So we did similar workshop for rail mill. Then merchant products and steel melting shops, and so on and so forth. This was something which really sort of turned around. And if I really see what we today know, learn, understand, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, I could relate through this. There was a situation when volatile environment was there, uncertainty was there about the future. In fact, we were thinking of even closing down rail mill because China was able to produce and sell at a lesser cost. The government of India was prepared to buy from China, then from its own public sector unit because of the cost. This intervention really turned the tails. And then we stopped further orders from China. Then competition, ambiguity was there in the lines of management. This really brought a very big, I should say, change. And now I am, at that time, believe me, I did not know there's a thing called OD, honestly. Now I'm able to put two and two together. That was an OD intervention. Hitherto, I was only doing training programs. Now I could see it's a total approach, right? And I'm now able to connect saying OD intervention for achieving challenging targets to managing change and culture building. This was what I coined as PEP and how it was done. So next part is how this was carried forward into similar exercises, even at the cost of repeating some. I only wanted to reinforce how such interventions can really make a difference. When now today, if you ask, OD is so complex or even sometimes complicated. Everything that development, everything that is improvement that is happening in HR is also conveniently coined as OD. There are today as many as 500 odd job descriptions in OD. It's a very, very large in terms of the canvas that we have. There are almost 40 plus operational definitions of OD now, right? In a study, 27 definitions of OD were there in 69, right? 60 different variables were involved. So my job is not to complicate it. I'm going to make it simple as we proceed further. Now, over the last 40 years, since it started for 50 years, now there are so many competency publications are made, frameworks have been developed, and then several universities across the West particularly have started graduate programs in OD as well. In fact, several electives under HR is also taken as OD. Now, I can say, based on my experience, is OD is a critical science-based process. Why it is science-based? Well, there is some process, right? It could be empirical, it could be measured, right? There is something which can be, which can help this organization. It's just not some training being given, some, soft skills program. No, it is based on intention to, for getting people to be at attention, and then manifestation to happen, right? So OD is also to enhance the capacity to change and achieve greater effectiveness. As I shared with you, people who are thinking that this is it. If at all we have to produce more, we have to modernize. We have done enough. We have done our best. Here was where, through these workshops, the potential was enhanced by removing interferences. As Joseph Juran, the total quality management guru, I once said, what is performance? Performance is equal to potential minus interference. What is potential? The capacity to which you can perform. How is it limited? Interferences through others. Most often it's interference of our own, thinking, our belief. This is shattered through such OD interventions. How do we do it? By developing, improving, and reinforcing strategies, structures, and processes. So having said that, so in any OD strategy, there are 5 phases. First and foremost is the entry phase. So it is where the problem, like you relate my example of what I did in the plate mill, is how the problem was explored, right? Then enter into contract with the 3 people, then diagnose how do we do the pre-prep workshop, how do we go about doing it, and then understand, right? How can it that this is in fact more than the pre-prep workshop. When we discuss in the 2-day workshop, when people directly working, they were able to bring about, the expectations, and then how do they commit, then the feedback solutions for coming out, right? In fact, I would say, though plate mill exercise was the start, the rail mill was phenomenal. Can you believe the rail minister came over to, after we see the success of this project, to see this, the intervention, the successful intervention. Then evaluation is done, and so on. This is a typical strategy, how the strategy works. So what are those things? One is scientific, we have behavioral science, we ensure that people have practiced it. Then it is systemic. There is all entire system. There is input, process, output. What are the systemic challenges are there? So we discuss about the entire SOP, standard operating practices in the particular operations. It really believes that people are at the heart. Whatever technology you may have, it is the people who make a difference, right? It is trying to enhance that potential. These workshops are organized. And how best we can make it participate, right? How can we make members believe that they will also are a key stakeholder in the entire process? How can we ensure that this capability is shared and enhanced? And I believe that any future problem can be tackled. That's how this entire intervention was developed, and even a belief was set in the entire workforce that any problem can be tackled. So if you really see, the methodology that we had was in having those interventions, or There were some conflicts which could be resolved. There is going to be feedback and reflection, design. These are some of the methodologies also. Hitherto, I must have discussed about what actually it did in the organization. But OD interventions can be even specific to with individuals, with some groups, like what I'm showing here, right? And then we can do some process consulting as well, which can be called as OD intervention. We can enhance capabilities of people, which also could be known in intervention. Today, if you ask me in the Art of Living Ashram here in the organization, I'm starting working on capability developments. Hitherto, people do not have any exposure to training, right? So they're doing those courses, or whatever, but still they have this need to develop in those areas, functional and even behavioral too. So, what are the specific trainings programs we have to do? What are the workshops that we need to conduct, identify a problem and solve it? These are interventions that we are able to do. These methodologies can be used. So, the outcome of it is improved organization effectiveness. Structures are aligned better. Then employee collaboration has been enhanced. Trust is developed. There was a time I also was part of it when I was in that other side in the mill. We in maintenance used to treat operations as our enemies, because when I used to have a breakdown, mechanical breakdown, and the way operations people actually bleed down on necks, or when will you get this rectified? As if by doing some magic it will rectify. So we used to really, those are the days, we are also young at that time, and we used to really dislike the phone calls that we used to get from our bosses. When will you get rectified? He's somewhere in the home, we are in the night shift. I mean, this used to be a big challenge. A trust was broken. So we hear these workshops not only at the times of executives, officers, but also amongst workers. It will develop a lot of trust. And then there was a lot of satisfaction and commitment. The production enhancement also got them better incentives, right? They were able financially getting better money also through incentives too. So the challenges, I mean, in the bargain, employee skills and knowledge were enhanced. Behavioral changes have really been made. In fact, I would like to share my experience that I used to go to the marketplace, and I used to meet some of those people who have trained in these workshops. And it used to embarrass me because I would never know their name. And then I used to be with my spouse, and then they would be praising me for, I mean, I was only a facilitator here, but that was this change, that did give me a lot of pride and, feeling of, well, sort of making a change as a change agent for the organization. So this help in motivation and retention of people. Of course, in public sectors, doesn't, but it will help. If you think of an intervention of this nature, of course, there will definitely be a lot of satisfaction. There also feeling of belongingness to the organization, because ultimately, beyond the motivation through salaries, money, and all that, a sense of belongingness, a sense of developing commitment to the organization through doing such improvements, particularly to the shop floor, to the frontline executives, is immense. And it has helped in building healthy competition across the organizations. As I shared with you, one department succeeded, other departments have also wanted for it. Then this helped in the entire organization, change. What I'm going to share with you now is how this intervention, right, it helped in such a big change in the organization that sooner the top management, hitherto I was been dealing only with the shop management. So the department heads. Now the success in the department, of course, it reached the ministry level. The managing director, the executive director was keen how this intervention can be made organization wide. You can imagine the challenge. 30,000 employees across 20 square kilometer area of the plant, right? And another, you can say, around 20 square kilometer in the plant, the mines, all have to be exposed to this change. We knew the difficulties, we knew the challenges, the results that we could do in 2-day workshop will not be possible anything shorter than that. But covering that large population is extremely difficult because productions may get affected. So what I'm going to share with you is the intervention that we did in organization wide, which was acronym THROP. Before I move on, since I was almost speaking for almost 40 minutes, I would like to pause here to ask you some questions. Any questions you have? I hope I was going fast. I realized, but is there any way, because I was conscious of the time. Is there any question that you have?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, yes.
Sir, when organization is supposed to do OD intervention,
Yes. Yes. When you
uh,
asking when? Acha.
yeah.
Well, you go back to this case. Invariably, the line or the bosses who are may not come to you to start an intervention. It is for us in HR who will have to be highly business oriented. It's all the more important now for HR to be business oriented. I could do this intervention. I'm not trying to take any, I would say, credit for it. My working on that area and as an industrial engineer and a training management professional helped me to develop this intervention. So it's not possible for you, wherever you are, to go through this process, right? You are now landed in HR, right? Now, how can you do it? So it's very important that you make some non-intrusive visits to, if at all you're working in a manufacturing plant, make some non-intrusive visits to the plant, not to solve an HR problem, some grievance, some salary issue. No. Or if you're a training professional, do get some trainers and do some soft skills program or behavioral program. No. You will have to interact with the shop floor people. Of course, I'm not trying to belittle or dilute whatever efforts you're putting. Definitely, there must be training need and analysis that you're making. You're developing training talent. I'm not even saying that. Most unlikely, the shop people may not know what is the capability and what intervention can do. The shop people even now think that okay, there are some gaps in terms of behaviors, in terms of leadership, in terms of communication, in terms of this, that, some technical. Okay, let us address it to training. The areas where the mindsets are important, areas where that ability to work as a team to get a target fulfilled. See, you can do sort of several team building programs, right? Offline. What that will help is, I also done that, tell you. That will have a lot of fun. That's a break. And then people come back with some refresh. And for some time, they will be energized and work as a team. Sometimes they will have a target in mind, but since unlike the intervention that we did, wherein the target was day in and day out, was written down. As they enter in the shop floor, they know what targets they are supposed to minimize this through this OD intervention. This is always running in their mind. So the sustainability of improvements happening through a OD intervention is much better than just a team building program or a training program. And more important, as I'll reinforce and again, even to repeatedly say, you as an HR training professional need to sit, understand what are the processes that are happening in that organization. What are the issues? They may be discussing some issues with respect to their problems. You may not be aware. You may not be an engineer. You may not be. You may just be just a psychology student. But sit there, observe. It's possible that you will get some sort of a direction that we can make an intervention like this. I'm talking of the one which we made. Of course, off late, the current trends are different or something come up, which is part of the HR language itself. But the intervention that I'm trying to say, I'm to share, is possible when we make some non-intrusive visits. That this I started when I joined Voltas later, where HR just did not have idea what these projects are, right? They were only knowing hearsay. So I made it a point that people go into those high-rise buildings, understand the conditions that people are working. People go into the plants and see what are the processes. Spend at least a week into these various areas, participate in these meetings that they have with their stakeholders. That will give some idea about the problems that they face. So that's something which. So to answer your question, when is when you think right and you're able to convince the management that we can develop a workshop or a module in this line. So that's very important, right? Problem has to be there, and almost situation when they said, "क्या कर सकते हैं? पता नहीं और क्या कर सकते हैं?" Right? That is the time when you can really take up this challenge. Okay. So OD now is, I'm just trying to put in sort of a definition or the steps involved. Is a study and implementation of practices, systems, and techniques that affect organizational change. We're not talking about incremental improvements. Training per se can make some incremental improvement to an individual, to a particular job, related area, and all that. Organizational change can also happen, providing depending on the size of the intervention that you're doing. So the goal is to modify the organization's performance and culture, right? Who initiates it? The stakeholders themselves. It is not the top driven per se, right? It is not training department does a training program, so you are driving them. No, they own it up. In OD interventions, of course, we need to do little follow-ups, but there has to be somebody to facilitate it. But the stakeholders own it up. And well, these OD interventions, of course, at that point of time was not known to me. Well, actually started off under the human relations studies, the Hawthorne's experiments, you realize, and psychology realize the organ structures and processes are there which should influence work behavior. I'm not even saying those studies were not effective, but a person not knowledgeable things, not knowledge of these things, me and of course a few of my colleagues could do it because we really felt there was a need. And then we had, because of pooling of some of our experiences, we could do it. And then what people actually made them good feeling was that they could really overcome such a big challenge, right? Which was almost given up by even the management of the shop, except for maybe modernizing the plant. Now, what I'm going to share with you is an OD intervention, large scale intervention, which I said called crop. This was started in 2001, 2002. So those PEP workshops, which it did covering about 5 departments, was between 1999 to 2001. Then 2001, this crop started. So why crop? Well, it really did make me. I'm quite passionate about English language, the words. CROP stand for Creating Responsive Organization Through People. And this is the Villi steel plant, the pulsating giant over there, the main gate it is. And the aim of this is to create a dynamic organization. So those were the days the market challenges were very high, many, and more important, the change has to be accelerated. So the objective then was to overcome those challenges that Villi steel plant and SAIL is facing particularly. So what are the actions and measures to be taken in those specific areas? Many were not aware of the financial implications. The value of a defect, the value of a product rejected. So this was made through continuous communication. Those days there was no technology was advanced. It was continuous communication through blackboards or paintings, or even loudspeakers. This was made, and the hidden potential was there within the people themselves. That was, help in turn challenges into opportunities, and commitment was exhibited through action plans. The actual work started after these workshops, when these flip chart papers had lot of those sankals that these people made, right? And they were taken and then pasted in those shop floors. And they could relate to, yes, I did it, I made it, I wrote it, right? That's the commitment that they turned into action plans. So using the crop, I use this word, tilling the land. This was the preparation. How did we do it? We constituted a task force. I'm talking about this large scale intervention, the OD intervention. We had a pool of people across the entire plant, and then we identified that facilitators, and then trained the facilitators how to conduct from a 2-day workshop to 1-day workshop. Believe me, the participants there who used to come to the workshop were illiterates, Anguta chaps, right? They were just those workers there who probably were attendants, lifting something, or maybe signaling to the crane operators. These were the type of people, right? With no understanding. I'm talking about people who joined the organization in the early 60s, right? And not even studied. So these are the type of people. So language was important. Formulating implementing strategies to cover all employees, and conducting the workshop for all employees, department wise and zone wise. So the what was the defining moment was that the change focus was on the change management. How do we make every person realize the importance of change, right? How does a person even stay back beyond the work demands, right? How a person doesn't hanker for overtime. He will do it because he feels responsible for it. How can high energy can be made? How can a culture change, right? Of course, we have to develop some hype around it, like lot of content. It has to be done. That only creates a lot of fervor, excitement, right?
Excuse me,
So
sir.
once we got, yes, any
So there's
question?
a question which is posted on chat.
Yes, I didn't notice that. Sorry. Okay. And when you plan intervention for leadership development or in talent development, let's say 3 months or 6 months long, our OD interventions are not training interventions. Okay. In my experience, any leadership development wherein if you just conduct a training program per se, that will be just a training intervention. If this leadership development is where you have a system by identifying people with potential through one or more psychometric tools, right? Identify potential, right? And then through assessments, then filter them to those people who can make it to the up to scale and really have potential to lead the organization future. Putting them through some specific training programs. It's a long process over, as you rightly mentioned, can I say 3 months and 6 months long. So as I said, there could be a training program. It's quite possible. It may not be those for those. It could address to people who are all leaders, who are shop floor managers or managers across. It's quite possible that can help them. But where you have an intent to really identify talent who are potential leaders of the organization, for them this long drawn 3 months to 6 months process is viable, right? So therein you can use coaching, you can use mentoring and things like that. I hope I answered your question, Deepti. Yes, to answer right, training is part of OD intervention. Yes, that's what you're going to see as well. Well, thank you so much. Yes, I want such questions coming in, right? Please do remind me because I'm focused onto the session. I will not be seeing the chats. Okay.
So it's like for training intervention to OD intervention. So it'll be that this is the extensive program wherein deep down within the organization, we will ensure that the changes that we are doing through the trainings or the, whatever other plannings that we have done is going to every corner, is going deep down, even at the employee level, the bottom level, from
Okay.
top to bottom. So everything overall, the cultural transformation is happening.
Okay. Now I am able to see that in the organization that you are currently working in may not be even a fraction of the size that I have shared with you. Yes. So I'm not
Hmm.
even suggesting that you do it this way. Even at the end of a training program, say leadership training program, right? Where about 25-20 people are trained as leaders. Okay. Please focus on their action plans. Please focus on the action plans. Let the training program not die there. Follow up with those people on their action plans. So if they have some identified some tasks they have to do, if they identified some team building that they have to do, if they have identified some any specific individuals they have to work on, please follow up on that. Any further drill down action plans correspond to those action plans could be an OD intervention by itself, wherein you're stretching that training program to further down the line to see where he, within his area of control or responsibility, is trying to make some difference to individuals, to the team, and to the task. Get what I'm saying? So you must carry it forward if you want to make an OD intervention. Understood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So HR also helped us a lot because getting those people to be nominated, sent to the training halls and all that. Nourishment was all, of course, the commitment expense of suggestion line management. So line management also made their presence in the evenings at the end of the workshops. They also used to join. They also listen to these workers, and then they also suggest. So it was real cultural transformation that happened. So this is typically the session module, how it looked. Those were the days. The 2001 Lagan was a hit. The film Lagan, most of you would have seen it. So we pulled out excerpts from Lagan, right? How a team which was just had given up, uh, those Bhuvan and his team could not fight the British team. So how did they come out of it? So excerpt of the film to energize them, excite them. Then the top management addressing the large workshop. Then they would go down to smaller training rooms in patches of 25 each across various training rooms. Facilitation was done by sharing information. What is the business scenario? What are the targets that we have? So it could have been department wise and whatever. They were all pulled into various classrooms and in the training centers. Then what are the weaknesses we have? What are the potential we have? And so on. It's getting to be done in a syndicate. As I said earlier, you can imagine a shop floor executive, a diploma holder, learned, sitting along with a Anguta Cha, prodding him, ask him to give his views, right? And then action planning, then the presentation. This is how a typical workshop was held. This was the executive director. You can see the background, right? Assembly hall, prop, right? And this is it's a ritual. Every morning he comes along with the top management, addresses the 300 workers, 250 people minimum who sit there and across through other groups as well. And this is the section of the audience, right? And then this was the yield. We did 5 facilitator programs, 52 workshops of those nature, covering almost about 2 months, right? And then more than that. Then maximum about 750 people attending, almost 800 workshops, right? Planned and mines, and then almost 30,000, the entire almost the population of the plant was covered. So these are the infrastructure which was required around, just giving the numbers, right? Over 150 facilitators were to be used. So if you really see, OD can be addressed across levels. You can address it to an individual. You can address it to between individuals, right? Through coaching, through mentoring, right? across the organization, in to groups as well, to groups, right? And also to intergroup. So OD can be addressed across depending upon the need, depending upon time, depending upon the ability for the people to be make those participants available to you, right? This can be addressed across all levels. So why this was done is that in this workshop, one of those sessions was done is how can you make them believe that it can happen? So we used to pose the question, saying these are the issue, whatever we are current situation that we are finding here in the plant, in the organization. Zimmedar kaun hai? Who is responsible for this? These are the questions, mind you, is not from a literate guy or a person who is a qualified manager. It's from an average worker. Top management ऐसा, हाँ, भ्रष्टाचार बहुत होता है, ऑफिसर लोग सर, सरकारी नीतियां ऐसा है सर, गवर्नमेंट का यूनियन बाजी बहुत होता है सर, बहुत इंडिसिप्लिन होता है सर, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बहुत दिया जाता है सर, जब हम लोग कर सकते हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में जाते हैं, बहुत चोरी होता है सर, लाल फीता है, रेड टेप, ब्यूरोक्रेसी, एक दिन तो हो सकता था काम 2 दिन लगता है सर, फिजूल खर्च, बेकार खर्च होता है सर, कोई मतलब नहीं. So these are the things that used to come out. Then we used to pose the question, Ubrega Kaun, who will take us out from this? Of course, now this was something important. Then we used to ask question, how? So manpower ज़्यादा है सर, इसलिए ये सब होता है. So can you believe at that time there were 30,000 people. Today, 20 years down the line, is just around 18,000, 12,000 less. Now, then they realized it is who will do it. जिम्मेदार कौन है? हम लोग. They realized we are responsible for this. Okay, if we are responsible for it, who will take us out from this issue? उभरेगा कौन? कौन करेगा सर? भगवान ही कर सकता है. मैनेज भी कोई करना है सर, गवर्नमेंट करना चाहिए सर, मॉडर्नाइज करना चाहिए. These are things. Privatization. These are the people, privatization करना चाहिए. But ultimately they decide, हम सब कर सकते हैं. That's the invariably those. It was almost like a process lab, They're trying to just brought out facilitators just to engage them into discussion to arrive out that yes, we can do it and we should do it. A belief in them. So hitherto there was a self-doubt, विकल्प, right? क्या हम कर सकते हैं? हमारे पास क्या पैसा नहीं है और मॉडर्नाइजेशन करना और प्लान रखना है. मॉडर्नाइजेशन करने से मैनपावर कम हो जाएगा. All these doubts, unfounding, all that were just overruling them. Self-doubts across, not just workers, even amongst management, whether we can do it. So this vikalp was turned into sankalps. So at the end of this workshop, every day, they brought out, just like in PEP, some commitments were made into fulfilling each of their expectations. Here, the commitments are made for their own department, what they will do specifically. I will take the least time to change the oxygen lamps. People realize what role they had. A time to change the oxygen lamps. In steel making, there's a converter, and the oxygen is lands to oxidize the iron ore to make into steel. Right? Even a 1 minute difference can make a lot in terms of production improvement, right? So similarly, everyone across gave some commitments here. This was all brought in, compiled, and then shared across to these units at the end of the entire intervention. The fruits, the change that happened was just giving you a nutshell of the main departments, the coke ovens, the sintering plant, the iron ore. These were happened. Idle running machine, modified, so many things. Some of you may not be familiar with steel plant working, but some of you who are engineers here can relate it well and who have worked in similar organizations. These were the outcome of this crop workshop, not through any addition, modification, or repair schemes. This was specifically done through such workshops. So the harvest, I'm just relating to the crop, is we can see just in year ends. What are the efficiencies in terms of the rates of coke that is used, blast furnace, labor productivity, energy rate, the lining life? You could see a phenomenal increase in just equivalent quarter or year. In the effectiveness also, you can see how it improved over the years just by this. Of course, I won't credit entirely to crop. Let me be honest here. But there were a few improvements, but the people were on track. In fact, in particular, rail mill and wire rod mills, we had this PEP workshops as well, right, to build on specifics as well. So this helped in the increase on this as well. So critical success factors for any such interventions is we'll have to be continuously on the toes. If we are HR professionals or training professionals, we need to see, let us not limit ourselves to our area. We have every responsibility to know what the business is doing, right? Assess how they are, what they are. Is there any way which we can help, right? And adaptation, you may be coming from any other background. How quickly we are knowing the business is so very important. You may be into a bespoke manufacturing company. You must be coming from a bank. How quickly you learn about the bespoke manufacturing is so very important to understand their problems, issues. So how can I get the leadership commitment to prepare for change? Let me admit, without leadership commitment in those interventions, it would have been a total failure, as most of the interventions have, right? If we think we are the authors of the training program, we are the best trainers in the world, we can do it, forget it. The best, I think the starting and the end point in this OD intervention is the commitment from the leadership. Not only our HR leadership, but also the leadership of the business. Convincing them and making them believe that we can do it is so very, very important. You must share such case studies in a very subtle, simple form, not putting them as reading material. In PPT form, you can share such experiences. It's very, very important. Employee involvement in learning and training is so very important. So how you people are have a learning agility, right? So people want to learn, implement. They make a good, solid, foundation to make OD interventions, implementable. So any change has to be provided recognition. In this cases, whether it was crop or PEP, the benefits automatically came in terms of higher incentives, right? Because production were increasing, qualities were being met, they're getting rewards and recognitions and Nehru awards and whatnot had been given. So what are the designing and implementing OD interventions, right? So how, I think much has been said, much has been shared by me in how we went ahead designing an intervention, right? So it was, as I said earlier, we found success in one intervention. This was very useful for us to sell the idea to others. And this really helped us. Became popular. In fact, I would even like to share, though public sector, when we did crop, the head of Tata Steel HR, he came in once, right? And he came and sat in one of the rooms I was facilitating. I don't want to name this person. And then after he came out, after the meeting, gave a break for tea and introduced himself to me. I heard about it through the newspapers and I came here. Of course, he did meet the head of HR of organization, also the MD too. But he wanted to be around incognito, right? He was just like any other participant. Of course, we could recognize him because he looked quite, I looked at him as a senior person. But he was so amazed at the intervention that we in public sectors are making. At that time, Tata Steel was doing much better than Billard Steel in terms of profits, in terms of whatever. So they also learned a good thing through our interventions as well. So if you can really see whether it was through our interventions or even a small scale OD interventions, right? It's quite possible organization conflicts or team conflicts can be addressed, right? So leadership and management can be addressed, right? Performance improvements can be not just the, targets, operation target, even individual performance can be improved. Then how by, doing something which was maybe not possible, thought not possible, in the same constraints, with the same resources, it gives them some confidence to meet any future requirements, right? That confidence building happens to an intervention like this. So any strategy, if the management has, we can build in an OD intervention. To answer to your question, Deepa, right? You can see the strategy that coming up, don't let it come down, top down, in the sense it should not fall into the lab. How quickly you can understand that strategy. How can we weave into the strategy and HR intervention, OD intervention, is where we can add value as HR or training professionals, right? What are the values and behaviors we need to develop, right? Later, I will share with you what we did in Reliance Industries through the extensive values and behaviors workshops, and how can we build culture, how can we bring about the change. So everything I think I've shared with you as terms of in my own experience. Whatever I shared was not based on books that I've read. It's all having been there, doing it, and really getting a sense of pride and sense of accomplishments in this particular process. It is possible. The difference is how quickly we understand the business is so very, very important. So if you really see, there's entire so much of gamut of actions we need to do. We need to sort of weave, right? If at all we need to have a very successful OD intervention. Are we having a business orientation or finance orientation? Quickly, are we reading the annual general body meeting report? You may say it's so boring, right? Even the land managers may not read, but let us read. It may be 4 or 5 books. It may be a booklet of almost 20 pages. Oh, you not read such deep. Read everything the CMD chairman says. Understand it. Then believe there is the entire customer supply chain. They are important. So how can you ensure that everyone does his job or her job well, so that the customer down the line in the department benefits, so that the customer on the street is also benefiting? What are the continuous improvement plans that are there? How is the learning atmosphere there? Is there excitement for people to learn? Do they have online program? Is there a hybrid learning situation, classroom, offline, online? How are we engaging that, right? How are we aware of the process? How do we make believe that individuals are also important? How can we build commitment? How can we build respect and fulfillment to all? How would you, they are actually related vertically, but I'm just trying to go in the horizontal way. How past decisions matter. They can evolve into strategies for the future. They can make us feel more responsible, right? How can we identify specific departments, specific sections, groups, units, and their goals? How can we build teamwork? How can we ensure total participation so that we have a win-win situation for all? So this is the entire awareness, appreciation, assessment, awareness, alignment, appreciation, adaptation, and action for all. This is the entire 6A approach or a 7A approach we must have, right? First of all, assess, then aware, okay, align, then build appreciation now. It's now action for us in terms of your involvement, right? You are connecting to the linking to the people, getting people to adapt to the change, right? Getting them to work on action plans and also see that everyone is working as a team. So the first 3 is entirely our responsibility as HR and LP professionals. the next 4 is more difficult, right? To get them to do this. So this is what will get into a win-win situation. So what I'm sharing with you now, or as I said earlier, this really worked like magic. I'm just pausing as I drink water. Any questions now?
Hello, sir.
Okay. Rahul, you have a question?
Can I ask you some questions?
Yes, yes, Rahul.
So basically, I'm also a mechanical engineer. So I work for in industry engineering from 5 years,
Okay,
and now
great, great.
working from training and consulting from 3 years. We are doing this organization development program in our company. I'm working in the manufacturing company. So my question is that we are doing this intervention at group corporate level. So same type thing. We are having a number of modules for at each level for supervisor, for managers and leadership team also. They have gone through a 6-month journey and taken a central. So my question is to when you are doing as per your experience, when you are doing this type of interventions, you are doing specifically for one plant. So we are doing at a corporate level. Do you think that we have to involve the manufacturing excellence team into that? And as far as your case studies is concerned, we are doing it for white collar job, white collars. So you have said that you also you means blue collar persons are also part of this journey. So
Yeah.
how you are managing to check the effectiveness and involvement of blue collar person in this intervention?
Okay, good. Now, the next slide that you're seeing are entirely blue-collared people. This is reference to safety culture, building a safety culture in the plant again. So there are no workers involved at all. You can see the target is frontline executives of the plant and mines. I don't want to go deeper into it here. It is the similar exercise for blue-collared workers specific to a particular area. What is it? Safety.
Okay, so you should took only the one thing like one mainstream that safety will be our first priority,
Yes,
and you have to do the improvements in terms of safety only.
exactly. This
So
is
what are
entirely
the
to build that safety culture in those people who are in the safety departments across the plant.
Mhm.
Similarly, you
So
can, for example, it is the quality department,
mhm.
right? You have to develop such that the importance of quality is not only reinforced to them, but how they become more acceptable to the people at large, right? So this is something which will have to develop in the module itself, right? So this is, as I said, the design of the entire intervention is based on the challenges that you face, which you'll have to do when you have this focused group interactions with those people, the quality guys. If they say quality nahi hota hai, kuch bhi okay, quality nahi ho raha hai, there may be problems there. There could also be a problem with you, right? So how can we counter? So how do we do it? We get into meeting those people whom they deal with, get a feedback from them, what they could make a difference. The quality guys could make a difference so that they can make a change. So we give these inputs to them. So it is where we also have a 360 feedback about a particular department or area or a section of people who are having challenges by having a lot of interactions with people around. Get what I'm saying, Rahul?
One thing I just wanted to know that
Yeah.
uh, for a blue collar person is effective. So for an individual persons, how you involve them means because at a blue collar level, so if they done some improvement, so the reward and recognition will be given to them in think of that they have done some kaizen or something. So how your manufacturing excellence or business excellence team working with you in incorporation of these
Okay,
things?
fair enough. So when you cover the HR scorecard, the under balance scorecard and all that, I'll take out time for sharing the Tata Business Excellence Model, right? And even the Prime Minister's Trophy in steel plants, whatever. So how various quality models, Malcolm Baldrige and all that, how can we dovetail into making specific improvements through training interventions? I'll come to that. Yes, Sukriti, you're having a question?
Yes, sir. I have one question.
Yeah.
So it's quite basic. So at times, what I feel that sometimes people are not very much like the senior level of the organization into training and development. It is they are doing it just because government has made it compliant. And like if there are many industries, but training and development is something that we can work for any industry. I think that backend it should not be an engineer student will only be a training and development in a steel industry or something of that sort. So how can we handle or how can we convince people that yes, because if they don't have this change in the mindset that training and development is also important, if I even bring into that mindset to them, they would say that okay, it might happen that you don't belong to this industry, you may not put in things, so it becomes very difficult. So is there something that the way to handle these things, then only we can like move ahead?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I also have gone through it as a training professional. Um, so to answer the question simply is, as I said, Sukriti, only little successes you try to share, you know, even from background of your own past experience or some case studies, that only help us to, make improve. I would strongly urge every one of us, every one of you here. So take those training programs, whatever happening, as convert them into action plans. 90% of the training programs end with some valediction and everything is forgotten. Please ensure that every training program has an action plan. So, and you follow up. In fact, move your goalpost or from conducting a training program and managing a training program to implementing an action plan. You may say, I have nothing to do with action plans. It's something done by that guy in his area. No. Only when the management recognizes that you have been following up with the action plans developed by those people, even at the cost of repetition, and they're able to table it as an outcome of a training program which you organize, then only your belief or the management belief in the training function enhances. It is coming from my experience. I also used to be extremely frustrated after conducting a training program, nothing happening, right? People just go enjoy food and then go away. We used to have a program dinner as well on top of it.
Yes.
It's only through these interventions that I did. Yes, I agree. Also, I admit that I could not reap the past successes in some of the places I moved on later. I agree. But here was there a possibility for paucity of time. Another thing, a public sector getting people relieved for 2 days was easy. But in private organizations, that was a big challenge, and you also must be facing it. But
Yes,
here is
that's
where
right.
we must enhance and make them free experience. When you're trying to improve skill of people, it has to be given some time. You did not become an engineer overnight, right? It took 4 years.
Yes.
You did not become a psychologist, but you understand psychology by just reading a book on psychology. You studied for 3 years. You need to make this line management feel improved, understand this. Sir, we are talking about skills. Then give them time. Just attending a awareness session will not make them, they can give them knowledge, but only possible skill can only be possible by giving them some opportunity to do it, make some mistakes, learn, developing manuals, developing SOPs. These are something which I will urge you to do it. Currently, here also, not that everything is hunky dory everywhere. Here, I have problems of no NGO, right? Just people do because of volunteering, but they don't realize the importance of SOPs, standard operating practices. So I'm working in developing SOPs across. So people move on from one place to another place. If they have an SOP in hand, the learning curve, accelerates. They quickly learn what to do. This is how you as HR professionals can make a difference. Understood?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. So I quickly, in the hands of time, move out. So, rail mill, as I said, had immediately an order from the government that, okay, we want to get more rails from you, right? Otherwise, will they used to always throw a Damocles sword at us, otherwise we're going to take from China. So immediately they had an accelerated program on the similar lines to meet 2,200 tons. On 2,200, no capacity increase, no modification, no modernization. Just the same people increase further by 200 tons a day. So this is how it was done. I'm sorry. Right? This is something I would like to share before I close, and because setting time, we also have a session at 4 o'clock. You may be saying, okay, you all did was in a public sector. Yes, Prince, you are having a question?
Yes, sir. I apologize that the topic has been changed somehow, but I still have a question.
Please, okay, carry. Proceed.
Sir, in your experience, you said that action plan should always be there. So this action plan should be created by the leaders who are attending the program, means who are the line managers, or from the training department only.
No, who will make the action plan? A participant has to make an action plan.
Okay.
Right. What is our, as a training function, what is our role is to tabulate, compile those action plans. Or ask them to share a copy with us. And then follow after a week with the line manager to that particular participant.
Okay. Means you mean to say only the participants would be the maker, creator of the action plan?
Yes. How will I impose on action plan for him? He will not own it up, right?
Right.
He will own it up when he writes it at the end of the session. Whatever be the training session.
Got your point, sir.
So, Prince, of course, everyone concerned, people in the line observe your seriousness.
Correct.
They will see, अरे अभी तक सब पूछता नहीं, कोई प्रोग्राम हो गया, बस खाना पीना का हो गया, कोई पूछता नहीं, ये Prince क्यों पूछता है? If they may ask you also, sir, इतना खर्चा हुआ, आप एक दिन उनको रिलीज करके आप लाए, उसका तो निकालना, रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट करना पड़ेगा ना, सर. So this is how you need to challenge them, confront them.
Very right.
Even the line manager से भी, अरे यार पीछा मत पड़ो, यार तो काम करना है सर, और अच्छा काम करेगा सर, और ये अगर एक्शन प्लान करेगा तो he will do is better. फायदा आपका ही लिया ना सर. No, I'm making it very, very layman-ish, Prince, but I'm only trying to put into transactions.
Yeah, got your point, sir. Very, very right. Means they will own when they create the plan.
Right. So rest we will see, but I just want to end. I can take 10 minutes more, right? Is it okay? Hello?
Sure, sir.
Okay, because I think the next session is 4 o'clock. So I will try to close it by maximum 3:40. Now, here is the situation I came into. I moved from public sector to join a private sector. At that time, Reliance Infocom became Reliance Communication, now is no longer there. And when I joined Infocom, I was taken as a training manager based on my rich, quote unquote, training experience, right? Can you believe the next day I was asked to get into HR? I'm not making any criticism of anywhere, but that was a great blessing in disguise for my career later. That's a different point. So whatever challenges you also face anywhere, whatever shocks that you encounter, take it as a blessing. Okay, this is also definitely a blessing to me. No, but अंदर का जो कीड़ा है ना, I always had this learning, training, always. Now, I was given responsibility for recruiting hundreds of graduate engineering learners, GETs. They used to call it GELs, graduate engineering learners, for Infocom through entrance examinations and all. I was made responsible because I handled trainees as well in the previous organization. I was put into HR to handle just recruitment of these people. The shock to me was they didn't have an induction session as well. They were just taken and they said immediately kaam karna hai. Just post them in various departments and get them to start working. Imagine fresh boys and girls just out from the class, out from engineering colleges, made to sit in desks and whatnot, and then just learn by observing others. And they were really not able to learn as they must should, because their awareness was little. Yes, to just bridge the gap, they had 1 day session of this is what it is, and come on, go get so busy. So I was responsible for this, and then these boys and girls over lunch, or they used to come for something or other issue about their salary and all that. They would come to me and said, "Sir, we are totally lost. We don't know what where. We are just observing things and all that." It happened for a few months. Then I knew this is not going to change, despite my appeal. In fact, so I was handling both HR and then responsibility of these people's learning. And you can't call them graduate engineering trainees or graduate learners when they're not learning. What a paradox it is. It's a, you know. So I used to talk to the training. There was a full-fledged training department, which was only doing training for laterals on specifics like transport equipment. I'm talking about communication, right? Switch equipment, data equipment, some contractor, loose ends on the Alcatels and all those, you know, when the thing. They were doing some programs. Obviously, these boys and girls may not, it will just go overboard for them. They were only adjusting to the laterals, right? And these boys were not able to connect, these girls, young ones. By the time 2-3 batches, earlier batches had already been there, you know, somehow they could make some sense in whichever department they were in. Obviously, when you have work in about 6 months, you will know something, right? It all depends on intelligence as well. I called these 20 boys and girls, right? I said, will you take this challenge? Whichever batches come in the next months, will you take up the responsibility of their training? So how can we do it? We have to man our stations. How can we do it? I'm not asking full day. You will come out just for 2 hours, not all days, only 3 days. Immediately after these people join, they have this 1 day session, all HR session and all that. Next 3 days, 2-3 hours only. They would already be posted department, or someone will make them come before, you know, going to their respective seats. 2.5 hours. Somehow I managed it. I developed them to be trainers. Very simple, not a training of training officers program that we all do and all that. How to present. It was mostly presentation, right? Get them all, these 20 boys and girls, to present themselves better, right? And I don't know how I can put it. Maybe I can share it on this WhatsApp group. This was actually published in a magazine some years back. I would like to share that. This was published in this magazine here, right? And even the crop was published in Indian Management 2003 August, the one I've shared with as well. So how these fresh boys and girls coming, and those trainers were their own batchmates, senior batchmates, sharing about various functions, switch, transport, data, everything. Do you know who used to attend that? The departmental heads used to come, and they would also address questions. But there's a movement started, you know. And note, very interestingly, strangely, the training department was not cooperating with us. What we used to do, there used to be business centers, right, where meetings used to take place. We know very well the first 2 hours normally meetings don't take place. It's only in after people settle down, after 12 o'clock meetings start. So book those trainings, those business meeting rooms for these sessions. So this, I cut the long story short, this is what we did. All graduate 25 different departments in the entire technology network areas. Half a day, I put it half a day. Sometimes it used to go in, but there were no questions were asked. So who are we? So people from different departments come in. Department-wise, the senior batch boys and girls used to come, explain each department, by function. Excuse me. By importance, what is the interdependence? What is the technology we work on? What is the processes and procedures we have? What have been there? Our highlight, just in 3-4 months. And this and HOD's interactions also there. So we used to, because they also had time issues, they used to call them only the last, 30, 50 minutes of the session. And that simply caught on, right? And then that really helped. Today, those GETs, GELs are some of my 500 LinkedIn connects, right? So that's the power of, doing such interventions. Okay, so I think it's time now. Rest of it, we will have it when we meet again on the 12th. Okay, in continuation, I've not done full justice. Maybe 1 or 2 of those syllabus points, one I think has been missed out, which I will cover up. Or this is something which I will share with pleasure. How did we do the HR transformation Reliance? All would like to know, right? So you always know what has happened Reliance during this period, 2013. Actually, everything happened between 2013 to 2018. I was there that 7 years period. So some of the interventions have been OD interventions more specifically. So I would definitely share with them when we meet next on the 12th of May. Okay. All the best. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions? I can take one more question before we close. Nothing? Okay, then all the best.